G'day punters, welcome to Victims of the Punt. We're looking at the, reasonably wet meeting at Randwick in the end, but to help me guide me through to find a couple of winners next start, here's Mark Shean, Mark Rhoden and Rob Scurry. Mark Shean, I'll start with yourself. How was it on track there on Saturday?
Yeah, well, we had some good horses. Did look a little bit hard to make ground. I think you sort of had to be in the leading group with that rail coming out to the 6 metre mark, as Mark thought it might play that way. I was a little bit more open-minded, but certainly as the day went on, I think it was pretty hard to make ground from the back, especially some races were very slowly run.
Yep. Mark Rhoden, just looking at the figures on face value, there's a couple of decent figures which we haven't seen over the last few weeks, but even with that in mind, did the track play more on pace than you even thought?
Yeah, I think so. It wasn't impossible to make ground, but there really needed to be genuine pace on for that to happen. If it was even or moderate, then the back markers really didn't have much chance.
And Rob, I'm sure you're very happy to get back on course there on Saturday and managed to get yourself in front at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's good. Gave a bit back late, and couldn't pay full toll with Belluci Bay, but it's good to get a win sometimes when you're a little bit out of form. Just to post a score is a good idea, and that was my thinking with the last race. I thought just to stay in front.
All right. Well, look, we'll do races 5 through 10 in full, but before we do that, we'll have a look at the 2-year-olds. So races 2 and 3, the Riesling and the Todman. Look, the fillies overall have posted better figures on punting form than what the boys have, but a lot of that's due to the tempo. The fillies went even to the 600. The boys went slow, 2 lengths slow to the 600. The races were won by 7 Vales and Sejardan. Rob, did you see any 2-year-old that took your eye?
Well, I didn't mind that. Look, not really. I didn't mind the second place horse. I did look at the winner and go, oh, that looks like a real wetty. That's just paraded very professional, just slightly built, and with that on race pattern. But I might struggle to find that horse on a Wednesday because it's not much of a type.
Yep.
Anything else out of the race? So it's just a 6. I remember them as numbers. Dashing Legend. I think it's got a little bit of improvement, some quality. High. Disappointed. Looked to have tightened up by Exceed and Excel. Did I tell you that we've got an Exceed and Excel available?
Good.
And look, it looks like a decent type. And Russian Conquest was the reason I wanted to play in the race. It didn't look like I wanted to be there. It sort of wanted to head back down the tie-up stalls a couple of times. Both laps it did. It just wanted to go home. So I remember when I saw it at Newcastle when it won at its first start, and it looked very professional there on a windy day. So I kind of put 2 and 2 together and thought it was a betting race, but no luck to get the winner though.
And just a quick word on Greece. Obviously, there was a lot of talk about this horse over the last couple of months.
Yeah, really nice type. Just looked a bit soft, and my thinking was, big strong horse on a first up on a wet track.
Yep.
Probably unders. So I backed second and third to the punters and myself.
Okay, Mark Shean, did you have any interest or did you have any thoughts in the aftermath of the 2-year-old races?
Well, look, Russian Conquest. To me, she was scouring a little bit before the race, but she did that when she won at Randwick the time before, which put me off her, and she did it again on Saturday. So, but this Snowden camp do leave a bit in the tank. We've seen Capitalist and Sepoy both beaten a fortnight out from the Golden Slipper and turn it around, and he was pretty negative out of the stalls. So I wouldn't completely sack her on that. I think 7 Vales certainly was aided by finding the rail. She was very green on debut when she was left 3 wide in the limb. She wanted to duck out at the start, and I think finding the fence was a big advantage to her. Look, Greece had a bit of a boom on her, but she ran much slower time than the official time that they gave out. She was 1.7 seconds slower than the official time. So, there was a bit of a boom on her for probably the wrong reason.
Mark, scouring, what does that mean for the layman?
Got the runs.
And what did you make anything of her trying to head back to the stalls? Was that a bad sign for you?
No, I didn't. I did see her do that, but look, sometimes I did. I'm not sure. No, I didn't really think of that too much. I was more worried about the scouring part. But as I said, she had done that when she won at Randwick, so maybe that's just a trait of hers.
Okay. And Mark Rhoden, as Mark Shean alluded to, 2 weeks out from the slipper. Is there anything here that you might very well have another look at in 2 weeks' time?
I don't know. They're an ordinary lot. I think everyone's in agreement there that they're a pretty ordinary crop of 2-year-olds. I see Sejardan's into single-figure odds for the slipper off a slow time. The tick for him was against the pattern, so he's got something, and he won against the pattern at Rose Hill in last spring as well. So, yeah, ticks for him, I suppose, but the fact that that is his pattern is a minus. I don't think you really want to be getting back into the second half or last quarter of the field in a race like the Golden Slipper and steaming home to win it. So, I don't think Seven Vales is going to be good enough in the high-pressure Golden Slipper. The Russian Conquest obviously ran cool and got it very close up to the Gold Coast. It could be in it, but I'm pretty unenthused about a lot of them, to be honest.
Okay.
Someone's going to win it. Sejardan did tick the wet track box, and I can't see it being a good track by the time we get in 2 weeks.
Okay. Well, let's jump to race 5, the challenge over the 1,000 metre sprint trip.
Can we just go back to that third race, though? The show court should have won that race. He took the wrong option coming to the turn, not following Sejardan, going for a run on the inside. If he'd followed Sejardan and come to the outside, he would have won for sure, show court. He's not a slipper horse, but his size and champagne got written all over him.
Is that the Doubtland one? Is it?
Yeah, same colours, but he's a Stitzel, and he's built like a tank, isn't he, Rob?
Yeah, he is. He is. Yeah. I was watching my son's Sky show. Excuse me. And they were saying he was half to Doubtland.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's it might be fake news, but yeah, he's a lovely horse. Lovely horse.
Okay, so race 5, Eduardo managed to just hold on there late. Shelby 66 at any old price gave him a little bit of a scare. Nature Strips run 3rd and Splintex is 4th. Even tempo 2 to 600. Rob, your old mate Eduardo, you found him on top once again.
Yeah, it looked perfect, but as my mother-in-law says, it's a mugs game. Like, seriously, how can Shelby 66 just about beat the best sprinter in the world? And of course, I was on it 2 weeks ago when I had a dirty day at Rose Hill and I just got nutted in a photo in the highway. Doesn't make any sense. So, look, Eduardo looked absolutely perfect. I think that was my note. I don't know if he's got anywhere to go, whereas I think Nature Strip, he still looks a bit fat to me. I think he can win. He'll win anything. I think he's the one to follow out of the meeting. Best sprinter in the world, one to follow, but he looks like he's got improvement to come. And I'm not sure if a heavy track suits him. He certainly doesn't look like a heavy track horse.
Mark Shean, help us out.
I thought when he got left, it actually might have done him a favour because he didn't get him a speed battle, and he sat off Eduardo. But yeah, he was under the pump there at the 300, and to finish behind Shelby 66 is one of the great head scratches of Australian horse racing.
Mark Rhoden, you're looking at the figures here on punting form, and Shelby 66 has produced 2 career peaks back to back, and not just career peaks, but it's almost 5 lengths improvement, 6 lengths improvement start to start. And I know they've both been heavy tracks, but is that it? Is he just a genuine bottomless horse?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what. I've never seen anything like what happened there. That would have been as big an upset as Dandy Andy in the Australian Cup in 1988. This one, that was just astonishing. And Dandy Andy actually had better form than Shelby 66, I'd say. But look, we should mention that any subscribers to the Mailbags Captain's Picks, which as the name suggests are compiled by Jack Dickens, I saw them come through on Saturday morning. He suggested a small bet on Shelby 66, and I thought he'd finally gone around the bend. I've been thinking that's coming for a while, but I thought he'd finally flipped on Saturday morning. And he's gone within an inch of being right at 60-odd to 1. Amazing.
100 odds.
I've found it in a million years. I thought he had to improve at least 6 lengths to get anywhere near them, and he did. So that's... Yeah,
he looks sensational. Shelby 66. I missed him the start before when he won. But yeah, he looked even better than Splintex, who got a bit hot, and I should have really put him third on the numbers. Just form clouded my yard there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bit of the narrative midweek was that Danny Williams was chucking this and Dream Ahead, I think it was, in just to collect the free prize money, and he's almost walked away with a big one.
Is this good training though? Now this horse is going to go up like 20 rating point or something, and it might be the end of him.
I think he's gone up more than that. I think he went up 30. I think I read somewhere. So where does he go now? So
That's the end of his highway career.
To go to Tasmania and look for some heavy all the time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, just great talking point, but no idea what to make of it. On my figures, and same on punting form figures, I had a look at them. It just doesn't fit in anywhere, does it?
Yeah, it's fascinating. Truly puzzling.
Again, it shows that these heavy track figures are questionable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. There's probably a difference between a heavy 10 and a heavy
8 as well, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's have a look at race 6, which was the Fireball over 1100. Even tempo, 1 length slow to the 600, so pretty much bang on. Mazu, no cash for it on the day. It was drifting out late, but it was still good enough to hold on after that big figure first up. Rob, how did he look?
Great. It looked like it improved. I thought Dragonstone looked sensational as well, and the thing that ran well at Rose Hill, the 11, look good again. But I got some really sage advice here from Mark Rhoden. He just said, look, the other ones maps are issues. So we got a luxury price, $5 on Betfair. I didn't like Profiteer. Looked a bit hot. Didn't look like grown much. So that was hundreds in my head, as was Sky Command, which was 10. So where's the percentage? And yeah, it was a decent play. It was an easy watch, and yeah, lovely result. Love the horse. Good boy.
Mark Shean, how are you viewing this race and wash up?
Yeah, concurring with Rob there, and as we mentioned, he looked a lot more settled in the yard this time in, and he's not getting on his toes and sweating as badly, and he's producing it on the track. I thought he had this race won probably at the 600. He was cantering behind them, and just a matter of letting down, and he did that. Mallory was good. She missed the start and just found the 1100 or coming back to 1100, but she's a good wet tracker, and she'll be suited when she gets back to racing against the fillies. I agree with Rob. Profiteer hasn't grown an inch, so he looks very limited. Dragonstone got in a bad spot, but look, he's finished there with Sky Commander, who did look unlucky behind on a wet track last time in, so maybe that form just isn't quite up to this level.
Mark Rhoden, just looking at the figures for Mazu, although it's nowhere near the first up performance figure-wise, it's still his second best career performance, so he's obviously returned in incredibly good order, this horse.
Absolutely. I had him slightly down off that first up run too, and I'm probably putting that down just to it being a wetter track than it was first up. But he's still been good enough to get the job done. He's just a great horse to back. I think I've been on him. I backed him in the Brian Crowley and the 2 runs this time in, so he's rapidly becoming my favourite horse. And he's just such easy watches, because he's just on pace, not necessarily leading, but on pace and travelling, and then lets down when asked. He's hunter's dream. Mazu, I love him.
Even like a slight error from Sam Clipperton. It looked like it was going to go to the inside, and I kind of half screamed there for a second. Did you see that?
He straightened it up pretty quickly. It was nothing to worry about.
Yeah. Speaking of nothing to worry about, here's race 7, the Canterbury Stakes, the Group 1 over 1300. Very slow tempo, 6.5 lengths slow to the 600, and Forbidden Love just did what she wanted with them. Led the whole way, absolutely painless if you're on at the favourites price. Rob Scurry, how did she and the others look?
Oh, look, she's a horse I've never met. She's not one of my horses. She gets really sweaty in the yard, and when you're walking around against Group 1 horses, that's normally that's a big X, but that's her pattern. She seems to have grown a bit. She's just an absolute, maybe one of the best wet trackers going around. There's a few of them ran on the weekend. I fell into Dalasan here. Horse hasn't won in years. What is it? Is it a sprinter? Is it a stayer? Is it a mile? Who knows? But it just looked the best in the yard to me. And yeah, it's run okay, nothing great. Sort of run up to what what the SP might have said. Look, I'm not sure that this Law of Indices still gets a bit hot. I don't think it looks like a Group 1 horse when compared to these. This Lighthouse up from Melbourne, American horse, lovely athletic, a bit of a wet type to me, but very athletic and not nice style of horse. Private Eye can certainly improve, and Colding's, he always looks like he should be there. Looks like a proper weight for age horse. He's run well on a heavy track, so he might probably be heavy everywhere, but he seems to be going well again.
Okay, Mark Shean.
I've never seen a less competitive Group 1 race in my life. They've absolutely just handed this. It was almost like there was a swishing of oars. Just jumped to the front and nobody go near it. It was was lovely if you're on it. I didn't back it because of the quick backup. I was totally wrong there. But they just presented the race to it on a platter.
Yep. Mark Rhoden, can you possibly find anything to follow out of this race?
Oh, well, once Lighthouse, I thought Lighthouse might even try and lead her out. And once that didn't happen, I thought she was going to be suited anyway. I mean, I backed her, but I thought she was going to be well suited anyway. But once nothing wanted to lead, it was just, it was almost farcical. I don't like calling them home even in my own head when I'm watching, but, about 600 out. But there's no possible way this is going over. And, yeah, one as she liked. Clearly going very well. I mean, Private Eye had his run on okay. Certainly can't knock him, and almost hard to read how well he's going off it, because he just had absolutely no hope. It's just a total forgive. It's one I'd be looking to give another chance to, certainly out of the race, and Lighthouse wasn't bad either, but just a complete benefit for Forbidden Love.
I'd forgive Law of Indices there. I looked at a couple of heavy track runs in England, and he looked all at sea there, so I would suggest that maybe once he gets back on top of the ground, you just forgive this sort of wet track this run at least anyway.
Okay, well, let's have a look at the other feature on the card. It was, of course, coming up there in race 8, which was the Randwick Guineas, even tempo to the 600. Converge, Animo, they were the two that fought out the finish, and Converge got the better of Animo. Rob, you've been noticing that Animo's been getting quite hot in its parade so far this prep. How did he look there on Saturday?
He looked much more settled. He wasn't like bucking and stuff like he was at Rose Hill the first 2 runs. He still does get a bit hot, which I don't like to see. Has just made that point about Forbidden Love. So I couldn't quite come into the short price on him. I thought Halal had improved again and just looked sensational to me. So he was a half decent bet for me. And I'm kicking myself I didn't have something on Converge, because he was clearly third pick and had the form and the mile form, and maybe this, and up by Frankel, he seems to really enjoy a wet track. So he pinged the gates and ran really well. Animo, I think he can improve. The other horse I really like in this race is Sinbar, but he might be be adverse to wet tracks.
Mark Shean, how are you seeing Animo coming along so far this prep?
Just back to Rob there, apparently he did kick out and strike the rail there and was vetted, Rob, so we may have left the yard by then, but that was in the steward's report, so he's obviously done that at some stage and we've missed that. I was probably going upstairs as well, as you were.
Yeah.
But he has kicked out there. So, look, again, I thought he sweated a bit more than he did at Rose Hill, to tell you the truth. So, look, he still looked a bit on the fresh side to me. I backed Talal. I thought he looked the best by 100 yards, and I fluke saving on the winner. I just couldn't take the price the way Animo paraded to me. So I got the race wrong before, but I managed to get something out of this race. But Halal was a better result. But he wasn't up to the task. He had a beautiful run. I thought he was there to win, wasn't good enough. Converge, certainly a horse who continues to improve through his preparation. He was pretty good here. Animo ran on quite well, and if he settles down in the yard a little bit before the race next time out in the Guineas or wherever he's going, obviously he might run well again.
Well, he unlikely will. He hates it at Rose Hill for some reason.
He gets near that clock and,
goes berserk.
Well, I guess that's the question. If he was running at Flemington on Saturday, would he have won the Australian Guineas?
Well, it's hard to say, and it's disappointing that they're both on the same day, isn't it? We've got to this stage where they're both allegedly Group 1s. There were 3 chances in the Sydney race. That's not really a Group 1, is it? Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Mark Rhoden, well, we've got 3 performances from Animo so far this prep. They've all been on even to slow tempos, which I think we mentioned last time. But again, like his 3 booming figures so far last preparation were all off that fast tempo, and arguably should have won the Cox Plate, missed out in the Golden Rose and won the Caulfield Guineas. But that form out of that race, obviously, we saw with Totsu and also Forget You and Lightsaber all running incredibly well there in the Australian Guineas. It's hard to put a line through what he's doing, but he's just not putting the runs on the board for what you'd expect Animo to do.
Yeah, I think you probably touched on it. I think a fast pace is the key to him. And he has also, even as a 2-year-old, his best run was his last run, wasn't it, in the sires? So maybe it just builds into a preparation, maybe. So perhaps he's not ever going to be one of these horses that, puts a picket fence of wins together, but he's very talented, and when things fall his way, he's probably there's not many that can beat him on his day. But his day might not come around that often, given his quirks and his sort of likes and dislikes. I thought that was a good run on Saturday, and still, him not doing everything right in parades and not being 100% there yet. There's probably a big run to come this prep, but identifying which one that is going to be the task, isn't it?
He probably lost it at the start, didn't he? Because he jumped well at Rose Hill and got into the 1-1, and on Saturday missed it by a neck, and then he looked over and he eased back, and that was probably the difference between sort of being in front of Converge or at least level with him, and instead giving him a couple of lengths start.
It probably was. Against that, he's been really strong late after doing no work early here on Saturday, and then the start before when he had the perfect run, even though he won, he didn't.
Yeah, just grounding away.
Savaging the line that day. So maybe he just needs to be, ridden totally cold. I don't know.
Okay, well, let's have a look at race 9. That was a Group 3 for the fillies and mares over the mile, and even tempo once again, perfect tempo to the 600. Lude led the whole way and gapped them going to the line. Rob Scurry?
It was a bit like Forbidden Love here. It didn't look was a hard watch. I was on Le Gay Soleil again. Had a good result on it first up, and it was a little bit fiery in the yard. It just looked keen to me, sharp. And I'm be interested what the pace was, whether it was even slow but yeah, it just got a bit fired up in the run, and maybe it was hard to make ground. So look, I think she's going well, but yeah, she just got a bit keen in the run. Old Polly Gray's like a bit like Forbidden Love, one of the best wet trackers. Just money for jam really after the race. And Stray's a bit of a watch for me in this race. I think it's a talented horse who can parade a lot better. So she's the one I'm most interested out of the race. Obviously, I'm most interested in unexposed horses. Look, it's got a benchmark rating of 66. Not uncommon for Anthony Cummings to do this kind of thing, putting it in a listed race with that kind of rating. But I think she's up to it. And yeah, she's a horse on the way up.
Mark Shean?
Yeah, well, pretty easy watch for Lude. There didn't look to be a lot of speed on paper, and I think that played against Le Gay Soleil, whereas we did mention in the previous show that, look, there were 4 or 5 leaders in that race the other day, and they broke 35 for the first 600, and here she's in a race where they've gone about 38.5 or something. So, the tempo was totally different for her, and she was second up, whereas Lude came out of a race where they ran fast sectionals, and she was going to get control near the lead, and but she did absolutely bolt him, though, didn't she?
Absolutely. Mark Rhoden, are you taking anything out of this race?
Well, the winner's flying. She trialled well, then was good first up, and even better again with all favours here. So, in for a good prep. Don't mark her down too much because she was suited. She's going really well. And if they want to oppose her next, the racing style she's developed now, she's going to be in the contest in a lot of races. Yeah, I was, I loved Le Gay Soleil's first up win, but I was really worried about the map here, and I did think Lude napped really well, and I didn't back her, but I just stayed out of the race. So I'm considering that a bit of a win, actually, because like all of us were on Le Gay Soleil first up. It was a eye-catching win. It would have been very easy to follow her in here, so I'm just glad I didn't.
Okay. I think she's better off maybe over 1400 on a good speed. 1600. They're going to go a bit slower. She might get a bit fierce, and I think back in distance. But what about Lude next week? Can she win the Coolmore Classic? Well, they're surely back up.
Yeah, well, she's not going to get the same control going back to 1500. It's a different kettle of fish to this race. She might be better suited when they get to those Coolmore Legacy back at Randwick there over the Carnival, 1600 metres maybe.
Clearly loves a wet track though.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to get a wet track again.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look at the last race. It was 1200 metre quality race for the mares. Very slow tempo here. Tim Clark did say in the steward's report that he didn't intend on leading on Geist, but he did, and he went very slowly, 7 lengths slow to the 600. And the horse outside of him, Belluci Babe, again, just gapped them in the straight. Rob Scurry.
I had it down to Belluci Babe and Mabusha. I thought they were clearly on top for me. Never Talk, I actually was half keen on first up, but I didn't think she looked any better. She's not much of a horse to look at. And Belluci Babe looked like she'd sort of put on conditions during a prep, which is one of the best things you can possibly see. Thought Geist paraded well. I've seen her be very heavy first up, which can be the go for that stable. But she looked ready to go, and I saw 250 in run for her. People were loving it. Anyway, Belluci Bay opportunity miss, going really well. Probably back up next week in the Coolmore, maybe. I'm not sure, but yeah, certainly we'll get a wet track.
Mark Shean, how did you see this race?
Oh, well, this was just the slowest. It was even slower than Forbidden Love's race, wasn't it? I'd never seen horses go so slow. Look, it was put on for Geist and Belluci Babe to fight the race out, but Geist may not have been suited by actually leading. She did go a bit fierce. She's a much better horse when ridden back, but when they went so slow, Belluci Babe did let down on the ground. I had doubts about her on heavy track. I think an old run there many moons ago when Never Talk absolutely flogged her on a wet track one day was sticking in my mind. I thought Never Talk went outstanding here. Tempo of the race was against her. Where she was in the run was against her, and they weren't making ground from the back. I thought she did an amazing job to actually finish third.
Yep, it was certainly a pretty eye-catching performance there in the run as well. Mark Rhoden?
Yeah, I was with Belluci Babe here, and it panned out. It didn't look give me much speed, and the race fell into a lap. She was very strong late, though. Never Talk, none of the things that were around her were making any ground on her. Never Talk, a good run. She's a bit of a heartbreaker, though. She's done this a lot. She gets back, she flies home. It's not, as I've mentioned about 200 times, that's not my go, unless there is going to be a lot of speed in a race. So I think she's going to need that to win. I mean, that's why the strike rate's so low. It's all comes down to the racing style she's got, unfortunately.
All right, that brings us to the end. We'll get some horses to follow from each of you coming out of this meeting. Mark Shean, I'll start with yourself.
Definitely Show Court. I think he's got a black type race in him. Maybe Sires, Champagne, or even Brisbane, but I think he's going to win a good race one day.
Okay, Mark Rhoden.
Not really. I'm not sure if it's a horse to follow, but I'd just like to point out that the raw time of Capistel in the Midway race 1 was right up there with the two group races over the same trip later on. Now, there's probably a bit of first use in that. And he was suited. He got up on the speed and he had no weight on his back and obviously likes the wet. But put a hole in them, and putting up that time suggests to me that he's probably better than Midway grade.
Yep, I think that's fair enough as well. And Rob, anything to follow out of the yard?
Nature Strip. I think he's going to win. He's going to put a few together. Slightly concerned. It's the second time he's been a bit half slow away, but sure Uncle Chris will sort that out for the big day when that comes round.
Very much so. The week ahead, we've got Canterbury Wednesday, Kembley Grange Friday, Gosford and Rose Hill there on Saturday with the Coolmore Classic headlining the card there. Mark Shean.
Yeah, well, you want the Ducks again. Plenty of rain around.
All right. Well, I'm sure we'll look forward to that. We'll preview the meeting on Friday. Until then, guys, go well.